You want to know one of the most important things every girl should understand. It's this: if you don't know your worth, the world will decide it for you. And here's the hard truth: most of the time, the world will undervalue you. People will treat you as good as you tell them you are. And if you walk around shrinking yourself, doubting yourself, and accepting less than you deserve, don't be surprised when others give you less than you deserve. Knowing your worth isn't about arrogance. It's not about thinking you're better than anyone else. It's about recognizing what you bring to the table and refusing to apologize for it. Because the second you realize your value, you stop begging for attention, you stop chasing after people who don't see you, and you stop lowering your standards just to feel accepted. Think about this. When you buy a diamond, no one tries to sell it for the price of glass. Why? Because its worth is already set. It's undeniable. No matter who looks at it, no matter who holds it, it's valuable. But here's the difference. You're even more valuable than that, yet too many of you are walking around like you're cheap glass instead of a diamond. And it's not because you are. It's because somewhere along the way, someone convinced you to believe that lie. Maybe it was a relationship where you gave and gave, and the other person didn't see your effort. Maybe it was a friend group that made you feel like the odd one out. Maybe it was family comparing you to others, making you feel like you were never enough, and over time, you started to measure your worth through their eyes. But listen to me, you were never created to let other people hold the measuring stick for your value. When you know your worth, you walk differently, you speak differently, you show up differently. You don't beg for love, you attract it. You don't settle for crumbs, you wait for the feast. And yes, that means you're going to lose some people along the way. Not everyone can handle a woman who knows who she is. Some people will call you too much. Some will say you're too picky or hard to get. But let me tell you something, being too much for the wrong people just means you're finally enough for yourself. The moment you start owning your value, life shifts. Opportunities that once passed you by will start to find you. People who once overlooked you will start to notice the glow in your confidence. And here's the best part. You won't even care who notices. Because when you know your worth, your validation comes from within, not from anyone outside. And I know it's not easy. I know you've been told to be humble, to be quiet, to not take up too much space. But humility doesn't mean belittling yourself. It means knowing your strengths and still staying grounded. There's a huge difference between confidence and arrogance. Arrogance says, I'm better than you. Confidence says, I'm not better than anyone, but no one is better than me either. I am enough exactly as I am. You have to remind yourself daily of this truth. Because life will keep testing you. People will keep trying to make you question it. But every time you choose yourself, every time you choose not to settle, every time you choose to hold your head high when it would be easier to give in, you are reinforcing your worth. And here's the reality. No one else can do this work for you. No partner, no friend, no mentor. They can encourage you, but they cannot convince you. You have to look in the mirror and decide for yourself, this is who I am, this is what I bring, and I will not apologize for it. Protecting your energy is one of the most powerful things you can ever learn to do, because not everyone deserves access to you. And the sooner you understand that, the sooner your life begins to shift. Your energy is like currency. You only have so much of it to give each day, and the way you spend it determines the kind of return you get in your life. If you give it away freely to people who drain you, to people who never pour anything back into you, to people who only take and never give, then don't be surprised when you feel exhausted, empty, and stuck. Some of you have people in your lives right now who leave you more tired after being around them than you were before. That's not love. That's not friendship. That's not support. That's a leak in your soul. And the more you ignore it, the more it drains you. Protecting your energy means learning to identify those leaks and deciding you're not going to let them keep stealing from you. And let me tell you something important. Setting boundaries doesn't mean you're cold. It doesn't mean you're rude. It doesn't mean you don't care. Boundaries are love. They're love for yourself, and their clarity for the people around you. They say, "This is where I end and where you begin. This is what I'm willing to give, and this is what I will not allow." Without boundaries, you invite chaos. With them, you create peace. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. If I put up boundaries, people will leave. And you're right, some people will. But here's the truth. They were supposed to. The only people who leave when you protect your energy are the ones who are benefiting from you not protecting it. And losing those people is not a loss, it's a release. There's freedom in realizing you don't have to be available to everyone all the time. You don't have to answer every text right away. You don't have to say yes to every invitation. You don't have to fix every problem. You are not responsible for carrying the weight of people who refuse to carry their own. Protecting your energy means giving yourself permission to step back, to breathe, to rest, and to choose where your time and heart are invested. And don't get me wrong, this doesn't mean cutting everyone off. It means being wise. It means asking yourself, does this person add to my life, or do they take from it? Do they push me to grow, or do they hold me back? Do they respect my boundaries, or do they constantly test them? Because once you know the answer, you also know what place they should have in your life. I'll tell you this, when you protect your energy, you elevate everything about your life. You think clearer, you love deeper. You show up stronger. Why? Because you're no longer wasting yourself on things and people that were never meant for you. Protecting your energy creates room for the right people, the right opportunities, and the right kind of peace to enter your life. And if you feel guilty about it, let me leave you with this. Protecting your energy isn't selfish, it's survival. You cannot give your best to the world if you are constantly drained. You cannot pour into others if you are empty. Protecting your energy is how you make sure you still have enough left to give to the things that truly matter. Never apologize for having standards, because the truth is, your standards are not walls keeping good people out, they're filters keeping the wrong people away. And the higher your standards, the fewer wrong people you'll attract. That's not a bad thing, that's a blessing. Too many times, people will try to make you feel like your standards are the problem, when in reality, their inability to meet them is the problem. Standards are simply you deciding what you will and will not accept in your life. They're the line in the sand that says, this is the kind of treatment I deserve. This is the kind of love I will give and expect to receive. This is the level of respect I won't compromise on. And when you lower those standards just to keep someone around, you don't just lose respect from them, you start losing respect for yourself. Think about it. How many times have you settled? How many times have you said yes when you really wanted to say no? How many times have you convinced yourself that maybe it's not that bad, just to stay in a relationship, a friendship, or even a job that didn't meet your worth? And each time, deep down, you knew you were betraying yourself. That voice inside of you that whispered, "This isn't enough," didn't go away. It just got quieter as you tried to ignore it. But here's the thing, you can ignore that voice for a little while, but eventually it demands to be heard. When you raise your standards, it's not about being too picky or too demanding. It's about recognizing that the life you want, the relationships you deserve, the peace you crave, all of it requires you to stop settling for less. And yes, it means some people will walk away. But understand this, the ones who leave when you raise your standards are not the ones you were supposed to build your life with. And I know, sometimes it's scary. Because raising your standards can feel like loneliness at first. It can feel like you're pushing everyone away. But in reality, what you're doing is clearing space for the people who will actually show up. For the people who don't just tolerate your standards, but who respect them, honor them, and rise to meet them. That's the difference between someone who just wants your attention and someone who wants your heart. And don't just think about relationships. Think about friendships. Think about the workplace. Think about family. If you keep lowering your bar just to avoid being too much, you'll spend your life surrounded by people who only ever give you the bare minimum. But when you keep your standards firm, You'll notice how quickly the wrong people fall away and how the right ones step forward. Let me make it plain. Your standards protect your peace. They protect your heart. They protect your future, and they are not up for negotiation just because someone doesn't like them. The right people won't be intimidated by your standards. They'll be inspired by them. They won't try to talk you out of them. They'll try to meet them. So never let guilt make you apologize for expecting the best. Never let fear convince you to settle for less. And never let someone who can't meet your standards make you feel like you're asking for too much. Because the right person, the right friends, the right opportunities, they will never see your standards as a burden. They will see them as a privilege to live up to. That's why you should never apologize for having standards. Because they're not pushing people away, they're pulling the right ones closer. Your voice is powerful. Don't you ever forget that. And the moment you start using it, everything changes. Too many people have been conditioned to stay quiet, to hold back, to avoid conflict, to play small, so they don't make anyone uncomfortable. But when you silence yourself, you're not protecting peace, you're sacrificing your own. And that sacrifice comes at a cost. It costs you your confidence. It costs you your identity. It costs you opportunities that only come when you're willing to speak up. I'm not just talking about shouting louder than everyone else. I'm talking about the courage to stand firm in your truth, even when your voice shakes, because sometimes it will. Speaking up isn't about being fearless. It's about being brave enough to do it even while you're afraid. That's how growth happens. That's how respect is earned. That's how change begins. Think about all the times you stayed quiet when you should have spoken. You left a conversation replaying in your head, thinking about what you wished you would have said. You swallowed your words just to keep the peace, but what you really did was make yourself small. And the more you do that, the more you train the world to believe that your voice doesn't matter. But here's the truth. It does. It always has. Your voice is how you set boundaries. It's how you communicate your needs. It's how you tell people who you are and what you stand for. And if you don't speak, people will assume for you. They'll write the story, they'll set the rules, they'll define your role. And you'll be stuck living a life written by someone else. I get it, though. It's not easy. Sometimes you don't speak up because you're worried about hurting feelings. Sometimes you're afraid of rejection or judgment. Sometimes you've been silenced so many times before that you start believing your words aren't worth saying. But the moment you decide your voice matters as much as anyone else's, you begin to reclaim your power. And here's what happens when you start using your voice. You attract the right people. The ones who respect your honesty. The ones who value your truth. The ones who don't run from your boundaries, but rise to meet them. The wrong people may walk away, but you won't be losing anything. You'll be gaining your self-respect. Don't underestimate the impact your words can have either. Sometimes your voice will give someone else the courage to use theirs. Sometimes your story will be the light that helps someone else out of their darkness. Sometimes your simple no will remind others that they too have the right to say no. You never know who's watching, who's listening, or who's learning from the way you choose to stand tall. And remember this, it's not about being loud, it's about being clear. It's not about winning arguments, it's about speaking truth. It's not about convincing everyone to agree with you. It's about refusing to betray yourself by staying silent. Because the moment you stop hiding your voice, you stop hiding yourself. And the moment you stop hiding yourself, you start living free. Happiness isn't something you find in someone else's pocket. It's not tucked inside likes, comments, attention, or even relationships. And yet, too often, that's exactly where we go searching for it. We chase validation like it's oxygen, thinking the right amount of approval, the right relationship, or the right achievement will finally fill the emptiness inside. But here's the truth. You can have all of that and still feel hollow if you haven't learned how to create happiness from within. Real happiness isn't about what the world gives you, it's about what you give yourself. It's the way you talk to yourself when no one's around. It's the way you show up for yourself when life gets hard. It's the way you decide, every single day, to choose joy even when circumstances don't give you a reason. That's the difference between happiness that fades and happiness that lasts. When you rely on validation, you're living on a roller coaster. The highs are thrilling. Someone compliments you, someone chooses you, someone notices you. But the lows hit just as fast when that attention disappears. And if your identity is tied to that cycle, you'll never feel stable. But when you learn that happiness comes from within, you're no longer shaken by the opinions of others. You stop living like a puppet, waiting for someone else to pull the strings. I know it's not easy, because we're all wired to want connection. We're all wired to want to feel seen, wanted, loved, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's human. But connection is meant to add to your happiness, not create it. Think of it like this. Happiness is a fire you build inside yourself. Relationships, accomplishments, compliments. They can add wood to the flame, but they can't be the match that starts it. If you never strike that match for yourself, you'll spend your life waiting for someone else to light you up. And sometimes you have to sit with yourself in silence to discover what actually makes you happy. Not what looks good online, not what impresses other people, not what you've been told should make you happy, but what truly lights you up on the inside. Maybe it's creating, maybe it's learning, maybe it's helping, maybe it's exploring. Whatever it is, you owe it to yourself to pursue it, because your happiness is your responsibility. When you understand that, you stop being so easily shaken by rejection. You stop settling for relationships that only give you scraps of love. You stop needing everyone's approval before you move forward. Why? Because you already know who you are and what fills your soul. You already know that no one else is carrying the keys to your joy. And the crazy thing is, the more you build happiness from within, the more magnetic you become. People can feel it. They can sense the difference between someone who's begging for validation and someone who's already complete. And that energy draws the right kind of people toward you, the kind who add to your joy instead of taking it away. So, if you've been waiting for someone else to make you happy, stop waiting. If you've been relying on approval to feel worthy, stop relying. Start choosing yourself. Start showing up for yourself. Start building a life that feels good to you on the inside, not just one that looks good on the outside. Your past may explain you, but it does not define you, and that's something every girl should hold close to her heart. Because it's easy to look at the mistakes, the heartbreaks, the seasons of pain, and believe that's all you'll ever be. It's easy to replay the failures and think they've written your future before you even get there. But hear me clearly, your future is always bigger than your past. Every setback you've faced, every person who walked away, every door that slammed shut, it wasn't the end. It was shaping you, refining you, preparing you for something greater. But if you keep staring backward, if you keep letting the past dictate who you are, you'll never step into the future that's waiting for you. Some of you are carrying labels that were never yours to carry. Someone told you that you weren't enough. Someone told you that you were too much. Someone made you believe that because you failed once, you'll fail again. And over time, you took those words, those moments, those experiences, and you made them part of your identity. But your past is not your name tag. It's not your permanent label. It's just a chapter. It's not the whole book. You are not the heartbreak you went through. You are not the mistakes you made when you didn't know better. You are not the seasons where you felt lost, broken, or abandoned. Those things shaped you, yes. They taught you lessons, yes. But they are not the end of your story. They are the foundation for a new one. Think about this. Diamonds are created under pressure. Gold is refined through fire. Strong trees are rooted in storms. Growth never happens in comfort. It happens in challenge. and your past, as heavy and painful as it may feel, has been part of shaping the strength you carry today. But strength only matters if you use it to move forward, not if you keep going in circles. I know it's hard to let go. Sometimes it feels safer to hold on to old pain than to step into the unknown, because pain, as much as it hurts, is familiar. The future is not, but you cannot build the life you deserve if you keep building it on the ruins of what hurt you. At some point, you have to put the pieces down and say, I'm done carrying this. And here's the beautiful thing. The moment you release the grip of your past, your hands become free to hold your future. Opportunities come, love shows up, peace becomes possible, not because your past disappears, but because it no longer controls you. You finally realize it was never there to define you. It was there to refine you. Your future will always be bigger than your past because the past can't grow. It's already done, but you're still here. You're still breathing. You're still capable of more. And every step you take forward, no matter how small, is proof that your story is still being written. So stop letting yesterday steal the hope of tomorrow. Stop letting what broke you keep you from what can heal you. Stop giving so much power to the chapters that were only meant to teach you.